Good afternoon and welcome to this Community Outcomes meeting for November. My name is Mark Burns-Williamson, Police and Crime Commissioner for West Yorkshire, and I'll just quickly let colleagues introduce themselves. Yeah.
Hello, so I'm Dee Collins, I'm the Chief Constable of West Yorkshire Police.
I'm Superintendent Nick Smart and I head Learning and Organisational Behaviour at Cargate.
Debbie Miller, Chief Superintendent, Director for Corporate Services.
Thanks very much. And this is one of the main accountability meetings that I hold with the Chief Constable to look at various aspects of police and community safety that aligns with the police and crime plan. And just before we get into the agenda, we are going to slightly alter the agenda, so we will actually be taking item number 7, Citizens in Policing, as the first substantive item once we've got through the first 3 matters on the agenda. So the first thing to do with are the minutes and notes on the last meeting on the 26th of September. Are you okay with those?
Absolutely, yes,
yeah.
Thank you.
In terms of the actions that came from that meeting, there was an urgent announcement regarding how policing with our partners are tackling homelessness issues and street begging, and I think we agreed to take that further outside of these formal meetings to get a further report from our partners to look at the joint work and try and get a better understanding of some of the problems that we know are happening in our town and city centres. So that work is ongoing. Under item or agenda number 7 on the last meeting, we provided an update, or sorry, you provided an update regarding the neighbourhood policing review. And obviously this is something that's very important, particularly to members of our communities. And we did actually speak to an updated report at the recent police and crime panel. But that is very much, again, an ongoing piece of work and something that is still being bedded in with regards to neighbourhood policing throughout West Yorkshire. So, but the main action there was the report that went to the panel only a few weeks ago. And finally, there was an issue around stop and search, that work being undertaken by West Yorkshire Police as part of a new method of identifying disproportionality will be shared with me when available. That has been noted and completed, and we have received that information, so thank you for that. So, item 2 is urgent items. I don't have any urgent items to raise today. Okay. Item 3, Police and Crime Commissioner announcements. I'll just make two things I want to refer to today. The first one was some good news we had recently regarding successful bids that were submitted for the Early Intervention Youth Fund, which this office helped coordinate a number of bids across West Yorkshire with our partners, and we have been successful in achieving over £1 million into a number of projects across West Yorkshire, and it is mainly looking at the areas around violent crime in trying to ensure that we divert younger people away from crime wherever possible. I do chair the what's called the Serious and Violent Crime Task Group for the Police and Crime Commissioners nationally, and I will try and ensure that that is fed in back to our local work. But that is good news, and obviously we will be announcing more details about those projects in due course. But West Yorkshire Police are obviously part and parcel of a number of those projects. So that was some good news. However, the other thing I wanted to mention, which is not so good, is the ongoing issues with the budget announcements and colleagues here will be aware of some announcements we've had regarding some changes to pension employer contributions, which as it stands would mean roughly a £7 million gap in next year's budget. I've written directly to the Chancellor and the Chief Secretary to the Treasury. I've not had any responses to those letters yet, but I've also raised it with a number of West Yorkshire MPs who have then asked questions in Parliament. So there's a lot of pressure being put on government to really find a solution just for next year as we speak, but of course this will be an ongoing significant gap in our budgets if it isn't addressed, of round about 20 million a year after next year. But I needed to raise that because it does have, as you will know, dear, a very significant impact on our financial planning, not only for next year but in the years ahead. And the responses that the Police Minister has given to this so far at the dispatch box, I'm afraid, just doesn't really cut the ice as far as I'm concerned, and probably all other PCCs, with regards to what we were told only a few months ago. And this announcement has really come out of the blue with the scale of the contributions we're being asked to make that haven't been planned for. I don't know if you want to comment on that, Dee.
Well, there's a couple of things, I think, just in response to that. First of all, last week we welcomed our new HMIC inspector, Phil Gormley, and at the same time we have elected to now publish an executive summary of our force management statement, which is a requirement from HMIC FRS on forces every year to produce, and this last iteration has been the very first one. We had to have that, if you recall, ready by June of last year. And of course, it's quite timely, sadly, that this budget announcement has come out at the very time when we are explaining to the public just how challenging and difficult the demands are across West Yorkshire at this moment in time. So if any of the viewers want to access that executive summary, I think it is available on our Force website.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. And I think certainly, you know, I publicly said, and along with yourself very recently, Dee, that you know, we don't feel as though the funding for policing is a priority for the government as it stands, and it needs to be. So rest assured we will be keeping the pressure on regarding the priority for policing at a national level, and obviously what that then translates into with regard to West Yorkshire regarding funding. But you know, as it stands, we've got some difficult decisions to make if that funding isn't found in the next few weeks. Okay, and I thought it was important to flag that today.